In 2018, a nervous 14-year-old girl from the United Kingdom walked onto the America's Got Talent stage, with no idea that her life was about to change. Courtney Hadwin looked shy and uncertain as she stood in front of the judges, but the moment the music began, that nervousness seemed to disappear. What came out was a powerful, raspy voice, filled with soul, confidence, and an energy that seemed almost impossible for someone her age. Her performance of Hard to Handle immediately caught everyone's attention. The judges were stunned, the audience erupted, and Howie Mandel ultimately pressed the golden buzzer. In just a few minutes, Courtney went from being a talented young performer to one of the most talked-about contestants of the season. It was one of those television moments people remember for years, not simply because she could sing, but because nobody expected that voice to come from such a quiet teenager. The Janis Joplin comparison. Part of what made Courtney's audition so memorable was that her voice didn't sound like the typical teenage pop voice audiences were used to hearing on talent shows. It had a roughness and character that reminded people of classic rock and soul singers. Howie Mandel compared her to Janis Joplin, an artist known for her distinctive vocals and emotional performances. For Courtney, that comparison was significant because those older rock and soul influences were already a major part of her musical identity. She wasn't trying to copy whatever happened to be popular at the time. She was drawing inspiration from artists such as Joplin, Etta James, James Brown, and Led Zeppelin. The golden buzzer gave her an enormous platform, but it also created expectations. Suddenly, people weren't simply wondering how far she could go on a television competition. They were asking what kind of artist she could eventually become. When the finale didn't go as expected, by the time the America's Got Talent finale arrived, many viewers believed Courtney had a genuine chance of winning. She had become one of the season's standout performers, and her audition had already made a lasting impression. However, the final result went in another direction. Magician Shin Lim took the top prize, while Courtney finished within the season's top group of contestants. For some fans, the result was disappointing because they had imagined Courtney becoming the show's next major winner. But looking back, not winning may have given her something unexpectedly valuable: time. Instead of being permanently defined as the winner of a television show, Courtney had an opportunity to figure out what she wanted her career to look like beyond the competition. The television spotlight was powerful, but it was only one chapter. The more important question was whether she could build a musical identity that existed independently of that moment. The record deal and the expectations. After her appearance on the show, the music industry took notice. Courtney signed with Arista Records in 2018, giving her access to the resources and professional infrastructure of a major label. From the outside, it looked like the perfect next step. She had television exposure, a growing international fan base, a distinctive voice, and now the support of an established record company. Many people expected the next chapter to happen quickly: a single, followed by more releases, appearances, and eventually an album. But Courtney's development didn't move at that speed. Rather than rushing to release music simply because the public was waiting, she spent time figuring out who she wanted to be as a recording artist. That process was less visible than an immediate chart hit, but it was important. A television performance can introduce an artist to millions of people in minutes. Building a lasting career takes much longer. Finding her own sound. Courtney's challenge was that her greatest strength was also what made her difficult to place into a simple category. She didn't sound like a conventional pop singer, and she wasn't interested in abandoning the rock, blues, and soul influences that had shaped her from the beginning. That meant her music didn't always fit neatly into the most obvious commercial categories. Instead of trying to completely change herself to match a trend, she continued exploring the sound that felt natural to her. In 2019, she released the EP, The Cover Sessions, featuring her interpretations of songs including Harry Styles' Sign of the Times and Lil Nas X's Old Town Road. These recordings offered listeners a different side of Courtney. The focus was less on the spectacle of television and more on her voice, interpretation, and musical personality. They showed that the girl people remembered from America's Got Talent was still developing, learning away from the spotlight. While fans waited for a major debut album, Courtney continued performing and developing her craft. She appeared at smaller venues and festivals, including performances connected with places such as Rockstock and London's 100 Club. These weren't the enormous television stages that had introduced her to the world, but they offered something equally important: real experience. Performing in front of audiences repeatedly teaches an artist things that cannot be learned from a television audition alone. You learn how to read a crowd, how to recover when something doesn't go according to plan, how to develop confidence, and how to make a performance feel personal. Courtney had already demonstrated that she could create a spectacular moment. Now she needed to learn how to build a career from many moments. That quieter period allowed her to grow from a talented teenager into a more experienced musician, choosing growth over speed. The music industry often moves quickly, especially after a contestant becomes popular on television. There is a natural temptation to release music immediately, while public interest is at its highest. Courtney's journey took a different route. Instead of constantly appearing in the spotlight, she spent considerable time working on her music and developing her identity. To some fans, the lack of frequent releases may have felt like she had disappeared. But disappearing from the headlines isn't necessarily the same thing as disappearing from music. Courtney continued writing, recording, performing, and experimenting. She was learning what kind of songs suited her voice and what kind of artist she wanted to become. That distinction matters because a successful television performance and a sustainable music career require very different skills. One creates an unforgettable introduction, the other requires years of consistency. A new chapter without the major label spotlight. Eventually, Courtney and Arista Records went their separate ways. Leaving a major label arrangement can look like a major setback from the outside, but it can also create new opportunities. Without the same traditional structure around her, Courtney had more freedom to decide what she wanted to release and how she wanted to present herself. That independence also meant taking on more responsibility. Recording music is only one part of being an artist today. There is promotion, social media, live performance, communication with fans, and the practical side of organizing releases. Courtney began using online platforms to share snippets, behind-the-scenes moments, performances, and updates. Rather than trying to turn every post into a viral event, she generally kept the focus on music. That approach helped shift attention away from the teenager people first saw on television and toward the musician she was becoming. What Courtney's story really means. The most interesting part of Courtney Hadwin's story isn't simply that she received a golden buzzer or became a viral sensation. It's what happened afterward. She could easily have been remembered as the talented teenager from a famous television audition, but she chose to keep developing. Her career has taken longer and followed a less predictable path than many people expected. There have been periods of silence, changes in direction, new releases, live performances, and the difficult transition from childhood performer to adult musician. That process isn't always glamorous, but it is real. Courtney's story reminds us that artistic growth doesn't always happen in front of an audience. Sometimes, the most important work happens quietly, long before anyone hears the finished song. The next chapter. Today, Courtney Hadwin's journey is still unfolding. The girl who once walked nervously onto a television stage is now an experienced young artist with years of performance, recording, and songwriting behind her. Her future will ultimately depend not on one television appearance, but on the music she continues to create and the connection she builds with listeners. That makes her story more interesting than a simple talent show success story. Courtney didn't allow one extraordinary night to become the final chapter. She used it as a starting point. Whether her future brings a major album, more independent releases, headline performances, or something completely unexpected, the foundation is already there. Her journey is a reminder that success doesn't always have to happen overnight. Sometimes, the most meaningful career is the one that takes time to build.